Housing Development Program is number one and the best. Housing Development Program, number one. Number one. Housing Development Program is number one and the best. Housing Development Program, number one. Housing Development Program in Nigeria. Housing Development Program in Africa. Housing Development Program and the globe. Number one. Housing Development Program.
It's a beautiful morning, and what better way to start the day than to serve interesting content on housing and construction in Nigeria and beyond. As always, I am your housing diva, Fleur Annie. Despite the enormity of the housing challenges facing Nigeria, there is a law that suggests that Nigerians can turn the tide around, close the housing deficit gap, and steadily provide for the country's needs. This clearly suggests that the government cannot address the challenges. Collaboration between the government and private sector players will be adequate. On the program today, we shall be looking at how public-private partnership will impact housing provision in Nigeria. This and many more will be coming your way right after the news making rounds in the sector. I will be back.
The Managing Director of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, FMBN, Madu Haman, has said the Office of the Accountant General of the Federation is yet to remit an outstanding of 26.5 billion naira National Housing Fund (NHF) to the bank. Haman disclosed this while making a presentation when he appeared before the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating the alleged non-remittances of the National Housing Funds and the utilization of the funds from 2011 till date. He said a total of 11.6 billion naira was deducted from the NHF by the federal government between October 26 and December 2022 in its revenue drive, adding that they mistook the NHF coming to the bank to be part of revenue. He also said there was another non-remittance of 11.5 billion naira by the Integrated Payroll and Personnel Information System (IPPIS) between January and December 2022. Haman also said another 3.5 billion naira deducted from the NHF by IPPIS between April and July 2021 is also yet to be remitted to the bank.
For more housing, finance, and construction news, do well to visit www.africanhousingnews.com. Now more than ever, national and sub-national government must collaborate and enable the private sector to participate adequately to provide housing for Nigerians. In line with the aforementioned, these experts have provided details on how public-private partnership can impact housing provision in Nigeria. Let's take a look.
Nigeria is one nation that continues to experience rise in population growth, especially in her urban centers. These and the combination of an inefficient mortgage system, poverty, increasing construction costs, land acquisition and processing, high inflation, and declining household income have made access to decent and affordable housing difficult for many Nigerians. For some experts, the adoption of public-private partnership (PPP) in housing provision in Nigeria is the way to go, as this will help increase urban housing stock and address housing affordability and accessibility challenges. However, not so many are aware of the benefits therein. For Professor Charles Inyangete, Chief Executive Officer at Innovative Risks and Investment Solutions Limited, public-private partnership has helped in the ease of land allocation, while also pointing out the need for active follow-up in ensuring the land is affordable and well situated for use.
One area that PPP has been put into use is in land and sharing land between private developers and the public sector, which, let's say, government or state governments. That still needs to be strengthened, it needs to be improved, because it's not sufficient just to allocate land. You also have to follow through the whole processes relating to making it affordable. Give the land in a good location, be ready to give the approvals, in a rapid manner, because at the end of the day, you are part of that partnership. No point giving the land, and when it comes to gain approvals, it's taking months and months and even years. Simplify the processes for private developers who want to come in, so they understand what your processes are as a state. So, and also you don't need to collect stamp duty at the levels that they are. And the private sector should be also more transparent in the way it deals with the public sector. So it works two ways.
Speaking on how public-private partnership can be effective, Engineer Nicholas Ogbedu, CEO Zefcan Groups, says profit-making shouldn't be the priority of PPP, but each party must ensure that they carry out due diligence in fulfilling their obligation.
Now the PPP shouldn't be all about profits. Ability to what? Bring in different ideas. Interministerial meeting. The Ministry of Works, do the road, do the lights. Don't promise what you cannot do. FCDA, provide the land, give approval, give a CFO for the land, so that a developer will do those bidding for 10 million or 6 million. Now, Ministry of Rural Electrification Agency, give power infrastructure to those estates. Because these are civil servants or people who are contributing to NHF. I've served for 35 years. What is wrong in giving them road, light and water?
He urged government to engage private professionals who are willing and ensure policies are not just formulated, but implemented and sustained.
Government is all about programs, but policy formulation, do you understand? When you formulate policy, being able to what? Implement. Implementation is not there. And continuity. Now, I take, for instance, the FISH program, the Federal Integrated Staff Housing Program for the Office of the Head of Service. It failed because they are not listening to the private individuals.
Welcome back. To boost private sector participation, the government must provide an enabling environment through incentives such as tax concessions and the elimination of bureaucratic bottlenecks in the land administration system. Mortgage reform and an efficient credit system are equally required to maximize investment in the sector. Let's listen to these voices as they provide solutions on how we can encourage more public-private partnership in housing development. Take a listen.
I think the problem in Nigeria is we don't understand what public-private partnership means. It's not taking something free so you can make money. It is taking an asset and investing in it and using it to create wealth. So when you talk about public-private partnerships, it has to be something that grows the pie, not something that steals the pie. The way we do it in Nigeria is that you literally have a few people stealing the pie, and then the vast majority of us are struggling. That doesn't work. So in that way, I don't believe in the way we do it in Nigeria. But done properly, PPPs are the only way that you can catalyze the sector.
So as a company, we are huge believers in public-private partnerships. We are currently running 17 projects. Of those projects, I think about 4 of them are actually public-private partnerships. We're in partnership with Lagos State on 2 projects, with LSPDC and with Ministry of Housing. We have a development here that we are doing with Kano State Government as well, through the Housing Board and the pensions. So it's something we also have partnered up with Kaduna State on a market, renovation and redevelopment. We also have worked in the past with Niger State. So we really believe that actually PPPs are a really good way to, I think, expand very quickly when it comes to housing provision.
Government has a huge role to play in PPPs. I mean, the first P is public, and we know that government policies have a big say in how these things are done. Most of the things that were said today are very important, like land acquisition, to make it easy for people to have access to good land in places that there's infrastructure. And if there's no infrastructure, that government provides the infrastructure. So a cost of infrastructure is not borne by the cost of the house. If the developer provides infrastructure, he will transfer that cost in the price of the house, and that makes the house unaffordable for the people that is intended for. So we expect also government policies in trade and tariff. So we're talking of duties, on a lot of things that we import for housing, to remove or reduce duties on those items, so that in turn we transfer these savings to people. We also want to see more synergy between the federal government agencies such as Family Home Funds, Federal Mortgage Bank, Infra Credit, Family Home Funds, those agencies that are charged with housing delivery, to be able to have a synergy for us to have a one housing policy that is being driven, all of us working towards one goal, which is providing affordable housing.
Glad to know you're still with me. The program is Housing Development. Stakeholders in the housing sector recently held an agenda-setting dinner to felicitate with the new Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Dangiwa. On his part, the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Dangiwa, gave the assurance that he understood all the challenges in the sector, adding that he was determined to fix them, leveraging on the support and expertise and knowledge of industry stakeholders.
Architect Ahmed Musa Dangiwa is recently appointed as the Minister for Housing and Urban Development by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, having served in the sector for several years. In honor of his appointment, stakeholders in the housing sector recently held an agenda-setting dinner for him.
We're here this evening for a very important occasion. In 2002, the Ministry of Housing and Development was created. Over the years, we have come to see housing not just as shared provision, but as a means of employment generation, socio-economic development, and general well-being and security of our people. And there is no better person to be able to take it to the next level than one who has shown confidence, than one who is a fellow of one of the primary groups in the housing industry, the fellow of the Ministry of Architects, someone who has been part and parcel of the struggle over the past few years to ensure that housing becomes what it's supposed to be.
The event featured goodwill messages from professional bodies and stakeholders who pledged support for the minister and charged him on ways to move the housing sector forward.
I'm probably one of the happiest people in this hall. Ask me why. It's because today, one of our own is the Minister for Housing. And it has always been our desire, particularly in the built environment professions, that our ministry or the ministry that supervises our various regulatory agencies should be headed by somebody within that professional group.
It is a pleasure for me to be here tonight. First of all, to congratulate the ministers for the opportunity that God has given to them to organize the Nigerian environment. He's a man that has been on the job, a man that is qualified for the job, a man that has passion for the job, a man that has been tested and trusted.
When we were invited to come and say to set agenda, I said, set agenda for who? A professional to the core. Somebody who knows the ABC. Is it the funding aspect or the building aspect? He knows everything. And the happiness is that the right person
is in this position. That's our happiness. To be able to solve housing problems in Nigeria, you need to collaborate and partner with some of your co-ministers to be able to, achieve the issue of housing or solve the issue of housing in Nigeria.
Statistician General of the Federation and Chief Executive Officer of the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, Prince Adeyemi Adeniran, says his appointment is indeed the right decision for the housing sector.
I think I'm happy that Mr. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu this year has given us an expert to work and fix the issue of housing problem in Nigeria. So, the Honorable Minister, I want to tell you that within the government cycle, we have agencies like Population Commission, CBN, MBS, NMRC that can deliver what you are looking for.
This is a clear indication to show that whatever you do is really at the people notice, or is at glaring. People are seeing it. These two gentlemen may bear me witness with the challenges that we met at Federal Mortgage Bank, and how Ahmed Dangiwa was able to surmount those challenges, and to have really left his name, and you can see hard work does not go unnoticed. And today, Ahmed Dangiwa is a member of the Federal Executive Council of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as a Minister of Housing and Urban Development.
The Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Architect Ahmed Dangiwa, expressed gratitude for the warm reception by housing stakeholders. He promised to deliver on the mandate of housing.
Indeed, we are facing numerous challenges, but with challenges come a lot of opportunities for growth and development and progress. With rapid population growth in the country, the demand for housing in our nation is ever increasing, and it is our duty to rise to the occasion and meet these needs head-on. Along with the vision of His Excellency, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, I promise to take bold steps, champion strategic housing reforms, and break systemic barriers to housing and urban development. We will think out of the box and do things differently. Our actions will be informed by sound knowledge and research of what works and what doesn't work. So among the several other plans and priorities, we will work closely with the National Assembly to review the relevant laws and streamline the Land and Housing Administration and create conducive environment for investment in the housing.
The Executive Director of Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, Festus Adebayo, he urged the minister to look into the issues of building collapse, consumer protection, and ensure that the issue of regulation is given a top priority in the sector.
Mr. Honorable Minister, we have to do something on this very terrible disease that is affecting the reputation of our professionals in abroad. A lot of people outside the country feel that our professional cannot handle high-rise building. This is not true. Mr. Honorable Minister, I'm here to report to you that a lot of Nigerians are falling victim of real estate developers. So many, nobody is protecting the interests of the consumers in the real estate sector. I want you to look into that. Mr. Honorable Minister, we need you to open a desk and a website in the Ministry of Housing where people can lodge complaints. I've already told the Chairman State Committee on Housing that the issue of regulation of sector will be given a priority.
The event didn't go without some entertainment by cultural troops as everyone expressed confidence in the new minister.
The program is Housing Development. Right after the break, Festus Adebayo will be in the studio for an exclusive interview with Roland Igbinoba as they analyze actions state government must take to improve housing development.
think we are under a new regime, under a new administration. I call it's a new dawn. For us to have more impact in the housing industry, the state government must also be involved. The law is clear. Under the concurrent list, that is where we have the land. And meaning, the governors are the one in charge of land. What I want you to tell me, what do you think, what you expect from state government now that can help the new minister to survive, to succeed?
I think, again, this is where a lot of alignment of interest will come in. You know, real estate is very local. So just like you said, the law allows that the governor is in charge of the land in the state. So I think it's about, again, stakeholder management and engagement. I think it's about the new minister reaching out to the governors, you know, to see how they can help. Again, showing them what the benefits are of providing land. Now, what has happened in the past that's been a problem is that when a minister goes to a state government or goes to a state governor to ask for some sort of public-public partnership, what you find is that the governor takes the minister to some remote places without infrastructure.
Yeah, that's what we are saying.
You know, and that doesn't happen.
That's what we're saying.
Because without infrastructure, let me tell you where, and it's really the poor, people at the bottom of the pyramid that suffers this a lot. I'll give you a typical example, you know, and how all of this affects the economics of the common man. If you cite a project in a suburban area where there are no infrastructure, this guy, his job, he needs to travel to work. Now, what happens is that that house may be a 5 million naira house, but the money he spent in commuting every day to work and back and for living basic life and necessities adds up to his cost of housing. So really, I think we're at a point where the development at state government level must be integrated. I think urban regeneration is also very key. And I'll tell you some things that I think the Honorable Minister can also push to the state governors. It's where there are developments, especially in urban areas, there can be some sort of cross-subsidy, where if you are developing 100 units, you can ask the developer to develop, 70 units at any price that he wants. But at least 30% will be at prices that are regulated, so that those at the lower rung of the ladder will be able to afford this. And so I think a cross-subsidy partnership model would help in working at the state government level. That way, if the state wants to recoup the value of the land, they can recoup it from the market rate housing. But I think they should leave some 20-30% for affordable or those in the low income level.
I think the problem, from my own understanding of this issue, is that the state government don't put any priority on housing. And that's why you see a good number of them don't even sign up to 100 CFO for 4 years of their tenure. And that's why we have a lot of dead assets in the country. I must tell you this, if they understand it clearly, they will have known that housing have a lot of relationship with productivity. They will have also discovered that housing has a lot of relationship with health. So if they've done that, they will have also known that housing has a lot of relationship with economic development. And they can use housing to boost the economy. So the multiplier effect is key.
Yes.
I think they don't understand this.
So if they don't understand, then what is the role? Which means what you have just said is also just carve out some sort of task for the Honorable Minister. Exactly. And not just for the Honorable, I think it's for
all of us in the sector.
Advocacy, consumer education.
Yes. Cannot be overemphasized.
It's very critical.
It must be given serious attention by the present government.
No, at all levels. Whether it is the person taking the mortgage or whether it is the leader of the state government.
Yes.
Because when you don't know that housing is an economic tool for development, then you will hold on to CFOs. Because when you have debt assets, see, let me tell you what happens. If I have a 600 square meter land, even if it's suburb, and I have a title, right?
Imagine that.
You know, what it means is that I can take that title
to any bank.
Yes. And borrow, even if it's 500,000.
Exactly, and do your transaction.
And be doing my small business.
You get what I'm saying.
So until that understanding, it's nationwide. People will sit there and keep creating. So really, there's a huge task. And that's why we call on people like yourselves. You know, that beyond advocacy, you need we need to come to a point where consumer education
is put as a priority.
And the only way to measure that priority is that you would look at the balance sheet of government agencies. There will be a line for consumer education. Because when resources is not allocated, how is it going to be done? So that would be my take in terms of making the governors understand that, look, we need to unlock capital.
So that is the reason why you see them giving them land. You can imagine the last administration that's doing national housing program. Most of the estates were built now in the remote areas. So I was surprised because that was exactly what caused to the problem of Shagari housing. Shagari housing failed because some of those houses were located in the outskirts of the city. We had no infrastructure, no access. We repeated the same thing. Some of the contractors that they awarded this contract to in Kano, in Sokoto, they'll be going back there to remove the iron sheet. They'll be going there to remove the window. So, because nobody manned. So that's the situation. So, we have to go. I think we have to do more.
No, exactly. Because I'll tell you, how do you locate residential buildings or apartments far away from the economic centers when you have not integrated all other economic activities? If you know what I mean, you know. So people will, and that's why when you try to relocate slum dwellers, wherever you relocate them to, without any economic activity, you find them coming back to take up the place. Absolutely, that's what happens.
Festus Adebayode and Roland Igbinoba. Now, state government can also play a significant role in increasing housing production and preservation and also improving housing affordability. A man who has a roof over his head tends to be more productive, and that is why Housing for All is my advocacy on this program. Glad you had a great time. Let's do this again next week. Until then, I remain your housing diva, Flora Anne. Enjoy the rest of your day.